Hi, my name is Eric Johnson, and about a month ago I was in Colorado in the northwest part of the state. And I was in Moffat County, and I was looking for Forrest Fenn's treasure in a place called Brown Hole, or Brown's Park. It was a home of outlaws. It was the home of cattle traders. It was the home of cattle rustlers. And for those of you that know Forrest Fenn and kind of know the whole background of this situation, which I'm just going to skip to the chase and no pun intended and assume you know that without having to constantly tell you what I'm talking about, Forrest Fenn has an affinity for the Wild West. He has an affinity for Indians. He started collecting Indian pieces and artwork, and he's a big-time art collector dealer, and he's dealt with Hollywood types, and he's amassed a fortune, and he's put a fortune out there in the Rocky Mountains. I'll leave it at that. Otherwise, I'm going to kind of assume you know what I'm talking about. So, there's a blog site called Mysterious Writings by a woman named Jenny Kyle, and I think her husband, they go out and they look for various things, but one of the things she does is she keeps track of Forrest Fenn treasure. And so there's a guy that writes on this blog site about something that's relevant to my trip, and then something she writes is relevant to the trip. First, my warm waters halt is the Flaming Gorge. The Flaming Gorge is named a Flaming Gorge because the sun on it reminded someone, wow. There's another thing. My first trip was doing with the home of Molly Brown. Home of Molly Brown. Perhaps it will start you off. Here she goes into something about the different ways you can call warm waters halt. Warm waters halt. It could refer to a specific warm waters name of a place, like Fire Hole. That's exactly what my clue is. Warm waters halt is Flaming Gorge. The water's not hot in the Flaming Gorge. It is named after the sunset on the sides of the gorge originally. So, I think a lot of us that are doing this hunt are cobbling together the clues as best we can. I at least always have this feeling that I'm kind of playing a lottery ticket, and I kind of think I know where it is. I have a pretty good idea where it is, but I'm aware of going into places that other people have usually been. Don't even get me started on this whole mind game thing of doing this real treasure hunt. I mean, maybe someone found it, maybe they found it and they took it with them, maybe they didn't report it to Fenn, maybe the treasure's not out there anymore, maybe Fenn went and retrieved it and he's lying about not retrieving it. I personally feel like Forrest Fenn is a pretty honest guy, and I think he's it says it all. He's an honorable guy. On the other hand, he has said things that contradict himself. I'm going to put a link on here to Lucky Love. This woman, she put a link to an audio on her YouTube channel that I'll put on here, and the audio has him in an interview saying he buried the treasure. Bury it. I went back and I re-listened to it yesterday to make sure when I did this today that I wasn't misleading you. I'm going to quickly try to get you to understand why I went to this particular place. It's a very, very fascinating place, and there's a very fascinating, iconic thing out there. I don't want to call it a structure, because Fenn said the blaze is not associated with any structure. And then a second potential blaze in this trip that the videos show is not a structure, but actually be, now I think, more where it could be. But, for Fenn to say that he buried it, gives me a headache. Because when he corrected himself, then he kind of said, well, I didn't say I buried it. And the guy said, well, I think you did. And he said, well, if I did say it, I didn't mean to say it, because even if I did bury it, I wouldn't want to actually say I buried it. And you're going, oh, God, no. If it's buried, it means, carrying a stick and poking the ground, and I really wish it would just be above ground, like in a hollowed out tree, or under a rock that you can kind of see under or something. Okay, so my warm waters halt is the clue for beginning the poem, but like a lot of people, and I know a lot of people must do this because I find myself doing it, you might have another clue that's your main clue. My first video trip that I did out to Denver was the home of Molly Brown was the main clue, and everything else went from there. Now, Fenn has said it should actually be the other way around. You should really start with warm waters halt, as if you know where you're going. I mean, we all like to think we know where we're going when we go, right? If you're going to spend the money and the effort and the time to go take a week or two off going to look for something, you'd hope you know where it is, but it's rough. I'll tell you, this is a rough one to figure out from this poem. I heard the other day that the poem originally was simpler, and then I watched Fenn's latest press thing that he did where he talked about his newest book. I don't remember what the name of it is. Once Upon a Time or something. I don't know what it is, but people were saying in the blogs about it that he had actually had an easier version of the poem, and I don't remember if it said that one of the kids figured out where it was, so he made it. I don't think one of his kids figured out where it was, but he felt that they could figure it out if he didn't make it more complicated or something, and so he made it more complicated, and that's why it's, to me, more vague. Is what he did. Alright, let's move along quickly, please. This is where I ended up. A guy added to this blog that they're doing, and he says, this guy says, why doesn't anyone ever consider, I'm going to read it like he writes it. Why didn't anyone ever consider Browns Park National Wildlife Refuge? It's in the Rocky Mountains. Warm Waters Halt is in the Flaming Gorge Reservoir. If anyone ever did their research, the Wyoming versus the Utah side. Oh wait, follow the canyon down, not too far, but too far to walk. Again, I believe Browns Park is about 15 miles away. Next. Now it just gets too damn easy. No place for the meek. Do you turds know what's below Browns Park? That's right, a little hideout for outlaws back in the day named Fort Miseria, a.k.a. Davy Crockett. And who would hold up there in the winter? Effort worth the cold? Joe Meek. Why only winter? Look it up, knuckleheads. It's floods in the summer, water high. So cold, yes, paddle up your creek. No. Next. Who else hang out there? I believe a guy named Cassidy and his buddy the Kid. I think in his book Forrest rambles about an air rifle he got and liked to pretend to be Cassidy. There's a clue sprinkled in the stories for you. Also sounds like a Forrest thing to do. Admire the type that threw up a middle finger to the law. Next. Just kidding. I've literally guided you to within 50 feet of his treasure. Good luck, and if you find it, it means Forrest Fenn's poem took me approximately 4 hours to decipher. Next. This guy takes a lot of crap from people after he wrote that. But anyway, that's the crux of what I thought. Fort Davy Crockett, that Aaron refers to, has also been said to be built upon a cabin that was built by a trapper named Brown. There are various names that have been attributed to this trapper, and there have been people that said he was actually a mythical figure, but there's different people who have been called Trapper Brown. The only thing that they seem to all have in common is, whoever this guy was, he built his cabin on the confluence, the juncture, the joining of the Green River and Vermillion Creek. So here we have Vermillion Creek, we have the Green River. This has nothing to do with where they currently think the Davy Crockett Fort was. Davy Crockett Fort is actually up Green River, I believe, into in a northern part of Browns Park. So I'm not sure if that part about them being the same place is right. It doesn't really matter. The bottom line is that Browns, or rather, the home of Brown is a place that was built somewhere in this area. I mean, when we're talking about the confluence of the Vermillion Creek and the Green River, maybe we're talking about right here along this road. technically it would be right here, right? So we have the Flaming Gorge Reservoir up here. We have about an hour away if you drive, because I already checked it out. You have this area here. So we're about an hour's drive away from Flaming Gorge where warm waters halt. Not too far, but too far to walk, an hour's drive. Aaron says it's 15 miles away. Maybe this is up here wherever he thinks Fort Davy Crockett is, and maybe it's not quite in, it's on the Colorado side. But anyway, I'm going for what it says in this book that was written by someone who lived back then, and they said the cabin was literally in the confluence of the river and Vermillion Creek. So you think, okay, put in below the home of Brown. I always kind of feel like the creek is a big key to this, in that you're going up a creek. You could say it euphemistically, like, you're up the creek without a paddle. We all have heard that phrase. Or, you're up the creek. I think he literally means a creek. He talks about high waters, heavy loads. So we come down from Warm Waters Halt. We do, in fact, go through a canyon. I mean, boy, if nothing else, you're coming down a canyon, right? And this is a canyon, because you're coming down, like most rivers are, a canyon. And you're coming down the canyon, and then you're going along, and you're going along, and you're going along, and you're going along into this whole Browns Park area. And then suddenly, here is where the cabin for the Brown was, and you put in below the home of Brown, going up a creek. To me, that would have to be Vermillion Creek. So, we go up Vermillion Creek, we go up Vermillion Creek, we go up Vermillion Creek. Never sure about heavy loads, but I think it's feasible that Vermillion Falls is water's high. Just heavy loads and water high. And we visit that on the trip. And then we go up here, and we go up here, and we go up here, and there's a particular place we're going to that's very exciting. It's where I believe the blaze, or blazes, exist. My trip, in a nutshell, every day, if you bother to watch this, is coming from Rock Springs. And this turned out to be kind of a silly place. This is about an hour and a half drive every day, each way. That's why I tend to want to get out by early. I like to leave fairly early. I mean, I like to get in around dinner time. So the next time I go, though, I'm going to be in a place called Vernal, right here. A lot closer. And they have some nice hotels. Some of these other small towns are great as far as distance. They just don't have any hotels worth of crap. And maybe I shouldn't worry about that too much. I'm not really there for the convenience of a hotel. A motel would be fine, even if it's kind of ramshackle. I don't really care. As I told one guy who was talking about it with me, I'd just soon go in a van and camp out. But I may look into that. I may look into rent. I don't know if you can rent. Can you rent, little vans to just stay in? That'd be cool. Just camp out there and every morning be right there rather than having to drive. Anyway, having said that, so leaving Rock Springs, I go down 430. I did this every day, going down and back up. And then I continue on down. It turns into 10. And then on 10, the area I want to go to is right here. So I turn left on 169, which is the dirt road. And this is not actually where we want to go. This down here is it's a business, some sort of outdoor business. So we don't go down here. I have to switch over to show you where we're going next, because you'll see we're not going to here's 169, but as you can see, the roads that I use, this is the one I referred to as going down to where there's we can actually see it You can see the buildings down here. No reason to go down there though, because that's not where we're going. Where we're going is going to be up here and then down here. And this is where the blaze is. Now, this is where it's not complicated, and it makes a lot of sense to me. There's a medicine wheel there. A Shoshone, or possibly Fremont, but they think Shoshone medicine wheel. What is a medicine wheel? A medicine wheel is a stone. I hate to use the word structure, because Fenn said the blaze is not associated with any structure in an interview. It's another one of these things where he kind of just blows a lot of people's theories out of the water. Is a medicine wheel that's made of stones buried in the ground around a circle that was done maybe anywhere after 1300 AD. Is that a structure? I don't know. But that was the first place I wanted to go see, because the medicine wheel is a circular stone, a circle of stones, about 28 to 27 and a half feet diameter. And within that circle of stones is another very small circle of stones. This whole medicine wheel has to do with figuring out when to plant the crops, kind of like a lot of these things like Stonehenge and others that, they figured out, almost like a sundial. They figured out the time of the year to do things. It also has to do with talking about the ages of man, like getting young to getting old and dying, birth. Has to do with celestial events, has to do with various things. The medicine wheel is like a multi-level thing for the shamans or the medicine men or whatever they had then to look at the world. Now, the thing that's interesting about that is that this medicine wheel, which you can see right here, this is a ring of stones. And there's another ring of stones in here smaller. One of the levels of understanding the medicine wheel is that this represents the base of a teepee, as if you were looking down on a teepee, it would be the circular teepee. And then this small ring in the middle would represent the fireplace, or the hearth of the teepee. So that to me was a blaze, and it was again right on the side of a creek. So if you have been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down. This is usually where it always gets to be, and of course in the videos we're there, I mean, that's the whole point of doing these videos, is I actually go to these places and I'm on the ground with my cameras videotaping, etc. And as usual with these hunts, once you get there and you're faced with the riddle of look quickly, if you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease. Okay, well, what does that even mean? I get here and I find the blaze, and I don't know if quickly look down means, it's here somewhere. Where's down? Does it mean look down here? Do I look down to the creek and find it on the creek? I do go down to the creek. I don't find it. But I have at least one clip being down in the creek. All of this, by the way, is completely dry when I'm there last month. Now, I don't know what you can see here. Does this look like water to you? To me, it kind of does, because I was there and this was all just white rocks. So maybe at the time this was taken, it did have water. This certainly looks like water here. Yeah, this was bone dry. So there you have it, the blaze, the symbolic, the medicine wheel with the symbolic fireplace of the Indian in it. But I did not find the treasure. Now another very interesting place very close to this, and it's another place, you go up here and you get into this canyon where I go, and that's looking kind of funky. I go up through here and I run into a problem looking for potentially another blaze, which would be petroglyphs that the Indians have on the walls of the canyon, hand paint, art, paintings. And so that's very interesting. And people have speculated that these petroglyphs are the, quote, blaze. And they've said they went there and they looked down. Apparently there's a cave there, and it's not in the cave. So, I mean, people say they've looked in the cave, so, you know, and boy, I'll tell you, hiking in and out of here, and then going up here to my car, which I think I parked around here. Yeah, I think I parked around here. And then I would walk down every day, walk down to this area and walk, I mean, every day I went all the way down here and back. Going down was pain in the ass enough. Going up is ridiculous. It's very steep. You aren't really getting, let's see if we can get some sense of it. Well, there you go. Yeah, perfect. If you can imagine, you're a person and you're having to come up here, went all the way down there. Went all the way down there, came all the way back up, got up, come up here, come across here, come back up to here, the medicine wheel. Then you go all the way up here, and this is a steep climb, and it's rubble, and it's rocks, and it's angle twist and crap. And then eventually you get to your car. Anyway, it's, but of course, you know, in his poem, you're coming up the creek. And of course, I thought about the whole, you can't even see the blaze when you're in the creek. So technically, if you were like coming up the creek, would you see the blaze? I don't know that you'd see the blaze. So maybe it's not even a fair thing to be doing to begin with, to worry about the medicine wheel. Where is the medicine wheel? To worry about the medicine wheel. Oh, there it is. It's right there. Maybe it is smart to just concentrate solely on what you would see when, you know, what you would kind of run into, which is somewhere in here are the petroglyphs. I do not get to the petroglyphs. You will find out why I do not quite make it to the petroglyphs. I'm put in a a poor man's version of Indiana Jones, I should say, situation where I have literally a choice. I'm not making this up. I have a choice between cold and wood. I'll leave it at that for you. So, and I went in the cold because I slipped and my foot went in it. It was cold. It had ice on it. It was that cold. And I didn't want to go up the wood. So I was kind of stuck. So there's a medicine wheel, and then the petroglyphs are up here. And I did not find the treasure. And you can watch these videos if you want that show me looking for the treasure. I don't know, folks. It's a mystery. Now, because I didn't get to the other end of the petroglyphs on this particular trip last month, I'm thinking of going next spring and going down the other end of the canyon. You know, I got back. One of the first things I see is a quote where Fenn said years back, I mean, say 5 years ago, "You really think when I was 80 I went into some canyon and I would go into a canyon twice and come out twice out of a canyon at my age? You know, I'd never do that." I go, oh man. So I guess he didn't go in the canyon where the petroglyphs are. But I don't know about Fenn. I just have to believe there's some trickery going on here. If you go to this link that I'll have on here somewhere about this recording of him saying he buried it and then he says he didn't bury it. There you go. That's all I needed to hear to go, okay, maybe he did go in a canyon. Maybe he didn't go in a canyon. Maybe you've heard people, there's a blog about the canyon. I'll put it on here too, as a matter of fact. And the guy talks about he tried to go see the petroglyphs and he didn't see them either. But I'll try to find it. I mean, I shouldn't say, I know I can find the YouTube because the person's name was Lucky Love. But this guy that I'm talking about with the, you know, with the medicine wheel and the petroglyphs, I'm not sure about that one. I'll try to find it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the videos, understand why I was there. It was because of the Brown's Park, and Trapper Brown, the home of Brown, and the Outlaws, and all that. And I'll post pictures of the books about Brown's Park if you're interested in reading about it. And I hope you all have a great day, and continue enjoying following the hunt in whatever way you do, or if you're out there hunting. I would really like it if someone would find it, because it's gonna be like Super Bowl for me. I'm gonna spend an afternoon just sitting there and watching or reading how you found the clues, what the clues were, and how you figured it out. Because this is only my second trip, and I'm already going, this is really gonna be a pain in the butt. It's fun to go out and look for it, but I just get this weird feeling it's too something. There's something about it, and that's why I'm beginning to think I'm just gonna forget everything as Fenn has said, in a way. Yeah, because he actually is starting to confuse me more than anything else. So, have a good day. Bye.